One of the most common questions you're going to face during a job interview is, what is your greatest weakness? For such a popular question, it really isn't easy to answer. You want to impress the interviewer and convince them that you're the right fit for the job. So talking about things you're bad at isn't exactly cut out for that, is it? Are you supposed to pretend you don't have any weakness? It's a confusing question, but I'll help you figure out how to nail it. First, let's understand why hiring manager asks you this question. Along with what is your greatest strength, what is your greatest weakness is among the top 5 questions you're likely to hear in any job interview. In fact, we actually have another video that gives examples of how you can talk about your strengths and weaknesses. Check it out for inspiration. Now, interviewers ask about your weaknesses to get an idea of your skills. If you're applying for a job at a busy cafe and you say you don't work well under pressure, you're probably not a good fit for that environment. But how can you answer this question can also show self-awareness, which the hiring manager can appreciate.
I'm awesome! I am awesome!
Being able to talk about your weaknesses means you know yourself and you are honest. So how do you actually answer what your greatest weakness is? The first thing to keep in mind is that the hiring manager knows everyone has flaws and they want to know how honest you can be about yours. This isn't the time to do that humble bragging where you say that your biggest weakness is that you're a perfectionist or that you work too hard.
Why don't I tell you what my greatest weaknesses are? I work too hard, I care too much, and sometimes I can be too invested in my job.
It comes off as insincere, and no one is going to be impressed by it. Like with most other interview questions, the key here is to prepare before your interview. Start by identifying your weaknesses. What's something you've struggled with at work? For example, maybe you're bad at managing your time or get distracted easily. If you can't think of any specific weakness, ask friends or coworkers to help you. What they say might surprise you or traumatize you, who knows? By the way, you should also be prepared to talk about your strengths, not just your weaknesses. Not sure how to do that without bragging for an hour? Well, we have a detailed video on that topic that you can check it out here. Now, back to our topic. Another way to figure out your weaknesses is to think about your soft skills. A lot of skills are like coins with two sides. By being good at something, you might be bad at the opposite. For example, if you're a logical thinker, you might struggle with creativity. Or if you're a great writer, you might not be the best at face-to-face communication, and so on. But sometimes the soft skills you do have can also be your answer. You could present some of your skills disguised as weaknesses. Things like taking risks or being too detail-oriented can be weaknesses in some situations. There are a lot of good weaknesses you can choose from, so take a look at this list if you need more inspiration. Once you have some weaknesses figured out, make sure that they meet all the criteria for a good answer. There are 4 key elements that make up a good weakness that you can tell an interviewer. First, you have to be honest, but not too personal. Don't make up a random weakness, but also don't mention a weakness that would disqualify you on the spot, like having anger management issues. Then, your weakness should also be self-aware. You need to know how you're lacking in this area and why. Next, you have to show the hiring manager you're constantly willing to improve. The best way to do this is by showing what you've done to work on your weakness so far. For example, if you don't work well with others, explain why, then tell the hiring manager what you're doing to improve your teamwork skills. If you haven't taken the steps to improve your weakness yet, make a plan for how you can do it in the future and tell the hiring manager. Depending on the weakness, you could ask someone for help or take a class to improve. And lastly, whatever your weakness is, it shouldn't get in the way of your job. Compare the weaknesses you have to the required skills in the job advertisement and make sure that your weakness won't affect your success in this role. For example, if let's say you're applying to work as an accountant and you admit that you're bad at math, that's not a good look. But you'll need to talk about more than just your strengths and weaknesses at the job interview. Make sure to watch out our video on the most common interview questions and answers so you'll be ready for anything.
Career Advice by Novorésumé.